Hello, my name is Milan Sharma, and I have some breaking news to share with you. And this is about obviously the Podesta emails. And I'm just going to give you, if you don't really know that much about the Podesta emails, and it's good because it's against Hillary Clinton, because Hillary Clinton is probably the most corrupt politician in the United States history, from hands down. So I'm going to give you 10 reasons, or the 10 main points revealed by WikiLeaks that showed Hillary Clinton's corruption to the American people. So you should be able to see it on your screen right now. And so let's go with the first one. Attitude towards, quote, everyday Americans. One email has in particular generated much debate, revealing that Clinton hates, quote unquote, everyday Americans. Yes, you saw it right. She actually said she hated everyday Americans, or that particular phrase anyway. This is what Podesta said. Quote, I know she has begun to hate everyday Americans, but I think we should use it once the first time she says I'm running for president because you and everyday Americans need a champion. So, okay. So ridiculous. So Hillary Clinton wants you to think that she's going to be your everyday champion. And what's evidence of this? Her campaign slogan, fighting for us. Her hashtag, I'm with her. All these things like fighting together, stronger together. She tries to make all these slogans saying we're together in this, we're together in this. And yet she says anything to get elected. It's the main point. She was for NAFTA. She pushed for TPP 45 times. She pushed for fracking around the world. I mean, all these policies. For TPP, she supported 45 times in around 2011. So all these policies hurt the average American worker. NAFTA costs America around at least 5 million jobs. When China entered the WTO, the World Trade Organization, the U.S. lost another over 2 million jobs in manufacturing. So this quote-unquote fighting for the American people is totally false, and nobody should believe it whatsoever. And let me show you the next one. Cultivating certain media. In an attempt to confirm Clinton's attendance at an event on April 12, 2015, the day she announced her presidential bid, Podesta emailed Palmieri, which is another advisor to her campaign, about the news website Business Insider. They both described the outlet as right-wing. Podesta said, am I right that they're right-wing, that they get a fair amount of traffic? And Palmieri replied, they are right-wing, but Philip, which is Clinton's former State Department aide, weirdly has cultivated them. And right here, this is the main point here. Clinton says Saudi Arabia, Qatar provide clandestine support for ISIS. Now, what does that mean? I mean, all the hints were there. When Clinton received millions of dollars from Saudi Arabia, she received hundreds of thousands from the Clinton Foundation from Saudi Arabia. The main point for the Clinton Foundation was to help people around the world, hungry people. And you think that if anybody thinks that Saudi Arabia wants to donate money to help people, then they're totally false. Because people get hung there, people get their hands chopped off for stealing something at a store. They don't care about human rights. Women are considered third-class citizens there. So then all of a sudden, Hillary Clinton gives them a $1 billion weapons deal while she was Secretary of State. So this email talked about, they're not going to show it on here, but you can find the link somewhere online. And she said that she expressed concern about Saudi Arabia funding ISIS. However, she kept taking money from the lobbyists. I mean, it's unbelievable how much money affects our politics today. It really is. So let's show the next one. Okay. Clinton knew, and this is the point I made earlier, obviously. Clinton knew ISIS received support from United States allies, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar. According to another email, Clinton was well aware that Saudi Arabia and Qatar, major U.S. allies in the Middle East, are providing clandestine financial and logistical and support to ISIS and other radical Sunni groups in the region. Quote, while this military slash paramilitary operation is moving forward, we need to use our diplomatic and more traditional intelligence assets to bring pressure on the governments of Qatar and Saudi Arabia, which are providing financial and logistic support to ISIL. So she actually said in this email that they are providing. Those are the key. That's the key word right there. That they are providing emails. And she said this. She sent this to Podesta. So she actually stated this in the email. So obviously, what does this mean? Well, I actually saw in a PBS documentary where in Saudi Arabia, the kids are actually taught to hate other religions. They were taught fundamentalist Islam, which is made up of, and ISIS is actually made up of mostly Sunni Muslims, radical Sunni Muslims. And Saudi Arabia is actually pushing the agenda. They're not fighting ISIS. They're using the weapons that they get from the United States in the billions of dollars worth of weapons that the United States gives to Saudi Arabia. They use those weapons to hit Yemen because they're fighting the Houthis rebels there. They're fighting those rebels. And a third of them actually hit hospitals and medical facilities. But you don't never hear about that in the news. Why? Because the United States is funding them. So they don't care about those war crimes, but they care about Russia war crimes when they do airstrikes. But they never mentioned that the United States airstrikes killed over 70 civilians, women, and children. That's a war crime. The UN doesn't consider it a war crime. Why? Because the United States is the biggest influence in the UN meetings. So let's go back to the next email here. So next one. Most Clinton Foundation donors are not American. In 2013, speaking to MediaCorp, Clinton admitted that the largest share of donations made to the Clinton Foundation come from abroad. And this is a quote from her email, Canadians per capita are the biggest supporters of the Clinton Foundation and the Clinton Global Initiative. So it's great to be supported by so many Canadians. So that's what she said, according to the Washington Examiner. We knew about this, obviously. Not much to say about here. Saudi Arabia donating tons of money to the Clinton Foundation, as well as Qatar in the earlier example. So let's continue to the next one. New DNC chair was the, quote, mole leaking Bernie Sanders stock. This is the really big one. In January, Donna Brazile, former campaign advisor to Bill Clinton in the 1990s and a high-ranking official in the Democratic National Committee, passed along to the Clinton campaign an email from the Bernie Sanders campaign revealing his strategy to reach African American community through social media called the Twitter Storm Tuesday. So let me just tell you right here. So this actually violates rules that the DNC has to remain neutral because they're not remaining neutral in this, according to this leaked email. They're not allowed to collude with the Clinton campaign or the Sanders campaign. And in this case, Donna Brazile actually colluded with the Clinton campaign and gave them intel on the Sanders campaign. And that's illegal, and you're not allowed to do that. Just want to point that out and make sure you guys knew that. So, and then here's a quote she said, "Thank you for the heads up on this, Donna." So obviously that's a Clinton campaign aide, as she told, Andrell Elrod. Brazile replaced Clinton confidant. And of course, she was a Clinton supporter, replaced Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who was forced to resign as DNC chair after the party files were leaked just prior to the convention in July. She tried to justify the action, saying there were, quote, plenty of emails from me to both teams, Clinton and Sanders. And obviously that might be true, who knows, but the problem is that Debbie Wasserman Schultz actually colluded with mainstream media. She colluded with Chuck Todd from MSNBC's Meet the Press and told him, and this is an older email, and told him to, quote, "You have to stop this, Chuck," in the subject line. And what she's referring to are the negative emails about Clinton. So how is that being neutral? She doesn't tell them to say positive things about Sanders. She doesn't tell them to say, she doesn't point them out and saying, why is their coverage deceptive of Sanders' superdelegate count when they can switch over at any point during the primary process? She doesn't claim any of this. She was pushing the pedal for Clinton the whole entire time. So let's continue. Plenty of emails. Okay, so she also accused those for working overtime for Trump and his Russian hackers, which again is false because there's no evidence whatsoever that the Russians are behind anything at all. Okay, moving along. Policymaking and backroom deals should be concealed from voters. Among the first batch of emails were partial transcripts of speeches Clinton gave after leaving the State Department. In one such speech in 2013, Clinton said policymaking process should be concealed from voters as backroom deals. It includes could make people nervous. And this is a very, very big deal because this is one of the biggest fines. And for those of you that don't know about this is the main reason why she didn't release her Wall Street speeches. When she gets paid, what was it again? $675,000 for 3 speeches to Goldman Sachs. She had to say good stuff in those speeches. And of course, she didn't release it during the primaries. And this just reveals that she has a private position and a public position on issues. So I'll give you some examples. For the Trans-Pacific Partnership, or TPP, her private position, she selects Tim Kaine, vice president, who voted for the fast track. She selected Ken Salazar to lead her transition team, her presidential transition team, who supports fracking and the TPP. Tim Kaine, her vice president, supports bank deregulation. That's her private position. Her public position, she's against all those things, even though she selected all those people. So this just goes back to the point that we all know about, really. So let's get back to the emails. Quote, if everybody's watching, you know all the backroom deals, discussions and deals, you know then people get a little nervous, to say the least. So you need both public and private position, Clinton said during his speech to the National Multi-Housing Council, for which she earned only $250,000, according to the Washington Examiner. Not much, only $250,000. Unbelievable. And then this is obviously, I'm kind of far moved. That's when she claimed that she wasn't attached to the middle class. And 7, can't possibly vet all refugees. That's what she said. So at a luncheon for the Jewish United Fund of Petro politician Chicago Vanguard in 2013 of October, Clinton said in the influx of Syrian refugees in the neighboring of Jordan, fueled by the ongoing civil war, makes checking identities of all asylum seekers impossible. Quote, and particularly with Syria, which has everyone quite worried in Jordan, because it's on their border and they have hundreds of thousands of refugees. They can't possibly vet all those refugees, so they don't know it. You know, if jihadists are coming to among the legitimate refugees. And obviously, this is one of the main reasons why Prime Minister Angela Merkel of Germany is getting a lot of heat on, because she's allowing a lot of refugees, most likely without vetting them, so they can just cross the border. So obviously, we knew that you can't vet everybody. However, the United States Congress did pass a bipartisan bill, that that's would decrease the immigration and would increase vetting. So there would be vetting most likely among the immigrants coming to the United States, because we're only letting very few immigrants in the United States right now. We allowed about 10,000, while Germany's allowing tons. I don't know the exact number, but I know they're allowing lots and lots of immigrants as well. So let's get back to the next one, number 8. No-fly zone over Syria, impractical due to sophisticated anti-aircraft systems. So this is an issue that I'm very, very passionate about, because a no-fly zone, first of all, her statements contradicted herself. In the presidential debate, she says she wanted a no-fly zone, but earlier she says she doesn't want any ground troops on the ground. Wait a second. You need 2,000 to 3,000 ground troops to have a no-fly zone. At least 2,000 to 3,000 at least. Plus, a no-fly zone would most likely shoot down Russian jets, because the United States and Russian jets and some France jets, but mostly Russian jets, fighter jets, are the only aircrafts that are flying in the air over Syria. So this is basically a verbal attack and threat on Russia directly. So a no-fly zone and it would result in a catastrophe for Syrian civilians as well. So I just wanted to point that out. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Well, I'll read that to you. She said, but the idea that we would like a no-fly zone, Syria, of course, didn't have when it started the 4th biggest army in the world. It had very sophisticated air defense systems. They're getting more sophisticated thanks to Russian imports, Clinton said. So our missiles, even if they're standoff missiles, so we're not putting our pilots at risk. You're going to kill a lot of Syrians. So she admitted that a no-fly zone would, like I said earlier, be a catastrophe for Syrian civilians. So next. Chelsea Clinton acted like a spoiled brat. So this is going to be really good. Let's look at this. In a December 2011 email from Doug Band, a lawyer who helped create the Clinton Global Initiative, said that Chelsea Clinton was hardly caring about, quote, her role in the office problems. Quote, but I'm sure Chelsea is more concerned with a mostly false story in the distinguished New York Post about MF Global and Teneo, not her role in what happened to Laura/Bruce, what she is doing to the organization, or the several stories that have appeared in the New York Post about her father and a multitude of women over the years, Band wrote. In a separate email to Podesta a month earlier, she said Chelsea was, quote, acting like a spoiled brat kid who was nothing else to do but create issues to justify what she's doing, because she, as she has said, hasn't found her way and has lack of focus in her life. So again, this is Podesta criticizing Clinton's daughter, Chelsea Clinton, because she actually wanted to point out the issues of the conflict of interest in the Clinton Foundation. And obviously, Podesta's not happy about that, because they want to receive money from lobbyists and money from the Clinton Foundation and the Clinton Global Initiative. Next, extraterrestrials, the highest form of intelligence, working directly with God. Aliens want to help humans but are afraid of violence on Earth, Apollo program astronaut Edgar Mitchell wrote in a 2015 Podesta email, citing an impending space war and the Vatican's knowledge of alien life. So this is, wow. Okay, I have no background information in this one, so this is very interesting. Quote, because the war in space race is heating up, I felt you should be aware of several factors as you and I scheduled in our Skype talk. Wrote Mitchell. So he actually died recently, February 2016. Terry Mann, that's oh my gosh, he died. That's very, very strange. Terry Mansfield, who describes herself online as the director of the IETI Peace Task Force, has also mentioned in one of Mitchell's emails. Referred to as Mitchell's Catholic colleague, Mansfield is also said to be attending the meeting with Podesta to bring us up to date on the Vatican's awareness of the ETI. And Mansfield described the ETIs as being the highest form of intelligence working directly with God. So those are the 10 reasons and 10 main points that were revealed in the leaked emails of the Clinton Foundation. I hope you enjoyed this, and please share this video with others and subscribe to my channel to receive more videos such as these on your YouTube homepage and my Twitter as well as in the link description below. Thanks for listening.